All right, we are live, but we're waiting for Eli to try to get on. So if you come on, give me a shout out to who you are and all that good stuff.
Hey,
All right, can you hear me?
yes, sir.
Try turning your volume up.
Okay.
Is that as loud as it'll get?
This is as loud as it will get. Is that good or no?
All right. I'd say get rid of your headsets. Can you shut them completely off? Let's
Yeah.
try that. Are they plugged in or are they the good ones?
1 second.
Just push it until you hear them click off.
Yeah, they're off.
All right. Now reset your volume. Try to turn your volume up manually.
This is as loud as it'll get.
I can just barely hear you.
That's odd. Is your volume all the way up?
Yeah, my volume's all the way up. Let me
I don't
grab
know.
my well, I'm not gonna try to do it. I'm just gonna sit fairly close and I can hear you pretty well.
Perfect.
That's okay.
All right.
It'll all work out. I went ahead
Hopefully.
and went live a couple minutes ago, and then when I saw you pop up as a guest, I clicked you on. So I'm gonna
Perfect.
go ahead and get started and we'll try that. All right, this is Ashley Williams and on in Cerro Bueno, Honduras. And then we have Eli Cole Williams live from Mountain Ridge, Kansas. He took a little bit of time out of his busy day of bike riding and taking naps to get on with on the show tonight. Uh, we own Legacy Farms Coffee, and then in the United States, it would be Legacy Farms Coffee Roasters. We also have LF Missions, which is soon to be Legacy Farms Coffee Missions or some variant of that. And it's currently a different type of nonprofit. It's going to be a Kansas nonprofit where we'll elect some officers and things like that. So that should be up and running by the end of the year. But currently, I'm in Honduras working on a project here on the farm where we're putting finishing touches on a children's classroom for the nonprofit and the church that we have. So we're about halfway through with it financially, and right now we have to do all the little things, building steps and handrails, building like 100 steps to go down to it. There has to be a little sort of a front porch built onto it because it is on the side of a hill. We decided to make it multifunctional, which is most of the projects we do have more than one use. So this is going to double as an apartment. So it'll have a mini kitchen, mini bathroom, all that good stuff. But no, week to week, it will be used for a children's classroom. So that's the building is watertight right now. We're still got to get one window for the bathroom because it's a really small window. It'll have to be custom made. But then we'll start finishing the concrete with like a smooth finish or stucco finish that they put on the outside of it. We haven't decided which yet. But doors, windows, and now the roof is on it. So now when it rains, it doesn't leak. So that's a blessing in itself. So we're this week we're drying the building out with about 4 or 5 fans. It currently has 34 posts, 8-inch posts on the inside, holding the roof on until it dries and sets. So when we come back in November, we'll pull those posts out. And until then, I set them where there's enough room for the guys to get in there and finish up some jobs like smoothing out the concrete and hopefully putting a tile floor in. Those are things that need to be done to have a classroom. There's some little bugs that are bothering me tonight, so I'll be swatting at those. We got confirmation that the container did land yesterday in Houston. So within the next couple of days, the container should clear. Once it clears port, then we'll schedule a day for it. It'll go from port into Raul's warehouse there in Houston. And then we'll schedule a day for it to come to the farm. So anybody in the Mound Ridge area that can take off work on fairly short notice for about 3 hours or 1 hour, anything you're able to help us with, we will gladly use the help. We only have about 8 hours notice from when the container leaves. They generally don't call us ahead of time. They've yet to do that, but we'll know the day that it leaves, and then we'll start reaching out to people to try to get about a dozen people to help us unload it. One of those on my list is Eli. This year his brother's working, so I don't know that he's going to be able to take off and come help according to what
Sure,
they have
actually.
going on. But both my boys are always a big help. But we have a couple of suspects that we're going to try to hunt down and rope them into doing the container because it is unloading 150-pound bags. There's going to be 205 of them this year. They have to be unloaded and stacked. Somebody jumped on and then jumped off real quick. But that's sort of the housekeeping. We're Legacy Farms Coffee on Instagram. We're Legacy Farms Coffee 200 on YouTube. We're plain old Legacy Farms Coffee on Facebook. Right now, we're currently having some trouble. I'm not able to use my laptop. My laptop shows that I don't have a podcast, and my cell phone is not letting me get onto Facebook and Instagram. So currently, we're broadcasting only on YouTube and the actual podcast. So you have to click the link to get on. One of the questions that we had, think we lost E-Man. He'll come back. He always comes back. He's a dependable guy. We had some roasting questions. Not this coming Tuesday, but the next Tuesday, we're going to be doing a podcast of roasters. So anybody that knows coffee roasters that will want to jump on. Now, 6 people are allowed on the screen with me. So we're going to have 6 guys on there. And there'll be, I don't know that we'll actually get to roast. We might have one guy roasting while we're doing it. But, excuse me, I need to get more of this into here. But we're going to try to reach out on all the different Facebook pages and forums and blogs and all that stuff of coffee people and see if we can invite them to that, to be on that podcast. But I would love to have the first podcast. I would love to have a Be More guy, a Fresh Roast guy, Hucky, Popcorn Popper, all the different varieties of home roasters. I'd like to have those on. And oh, hey, man.
I have no idea what happened.
All right, speak up a tiny bit. Yeah, you just sort of
Alright,
lost it for a while. Could be your internet
okay.
here, but
Alright.
all right. I was explaining that in 2 weeks we're going to have a podcast, not this Tuesday, but next Tuesday, of some different roasters. And so anybody that knows how to get onto a blog or something and spread the word out there. Uh, but there was a couple of questions about roasting this week, and we try to do, questions. Uh, One of them is, what do I roast on? I actually have two of the Hucky 500 Ts, which is something Eli is fixing to start training on. He's watched me a little bit, but
Okay.
I am going to handcuff him to a certain spot and make him do 2 or 3 roasts by himself, and then we'll give those coffees out free to any customers that want them. And if they can tolerate drinking them, then maybe we'll start letting Eli roast a little more. But
Alright.
it's harder to learn to roast on a smaller roaster than it is on the big one. Big one doesn't have that many controls on it. The little one is a lot of controls, and they're generally overpowered. My Hucky is very much overpowered. If I wanted to push that thing hard, I could crank a roast out in 4.5 minutes. We were just playing with it one day, and just to see what we could do, how fast we could get it to first crack. And we had it finishing up first crack in 4.5 minutes. And again, that's the Hucky 500T. I've got a couple of them. Um, but I bought this one back years ago, 7 or 8 years ago. The number on this one is 784. Uh, I also own 900 and something, and then I owe 1,036. So we actually have three of them. I wanted the same sample roaster in Honduras as I have in the States, but so I roast on that one. I really like it. I'm a big component on preheating. On my big boy, the big roaster, I preheat that for about 30 minutes before I start roasting at a real low heat. I put it at about 200, 250 degrees. I then move it up to about 350. I bring it up slow. In my opinion, there's no sense in throwing all that heat to it because most of it just goes out the building anyway. So it seems to work about as well if I rush it or if I go slow. We still get, if I turn my heat up in smaller increments, it gets there at about the same time. So the point where it's holding that temperature. So I shut that machine off. And if the temperature plummets, I know that it's not hot enough yet. So when I turn the machine off and then the temperature starts dropping slowly, then I think I've got the drum saturated with heat. And that's when I'm ready to start roasting. And then according to what the coffee is, I have one of them that has a drop temperature of 240. And when I say drop, that means I should say a charge temperature. I charge it at 240 degrees. I do go up on some. Uh, I'm sorry, but I do not elaborate a whole lot on exactly what I do with each particular bean. Uh, when I do, it gets complicated because there's dozens of different roasters, and it's hard to follow my profile. If it's somebody that's doing Hucky, I'll share a little more of my recipe, sort of. But my main thing I try to do is to keep all the roast level. Times are going to be different, but the only way I know that I have the bean, one of the factors is I always put in 12 ounces. And I know that on sampling and cupping, it's not important to do big batches. But I roast for my personal drinking a lot when I'm here in Honduras. Right now, I have maybe a pound of coffee to last me through Tuesday, and that's probably will probably last that long. But I showed up with I think 5 bags, and I'm down to one. Well, I've got pizza bags, but then I have to travel with one full bag of coffee because we have a favorite flight attendant. So if she's on the flight, I give her the bag. But I go in with 12 ounces and come out with 10.3 to 10.4. That's my goal on my sample roaster. And when we're cupping, we normally just do 20 gram. No, is that right? No, it's 12 grams of coffee in the cups and then 200 milliliters of water in the cup. And that's what we cup with. And so that's half an ounce roughly. So out of every time I do a variety of coffee, so every lot, I'm roasting 12, getting 10, and I'm only using an ounce and a half. Um, but we save all that coffee. That's just what we drink every day. And rather than come up with two specifically different profiles, um, one for like 3 or 4 ounces and the other one for a larger batch, I just stick with the 1 12 ounce. When we have visitors come up to the farm, I might try to roast 5 or 6 pounds and give them out 8 ounce bags or 12 ounce bags. They always want to buy coffee, but I don't have a really good quality roaster here. So I do have a formula that I use to put in 16 ounces for if I have to do a lot of coffee a little bit faster. It takes me about a minute longer to roast the 16, but I haven't perfected that yet. So generally, I'll just stick with the 12 ounces. So every 14 minutes, I can turn around. I'll have another roast ready, and I get out 10 each time. So yeah, it's time consuming. So it would take 4 roasts. I'm going to get 42 ounces of coffee, 41 ounces of coffee. It takes a while, and that take me over an hour to do that versus being able to roast at home with the bigger roaster. But on the big roaster, my drum is 22 inches by 22 inches, so it's a bigger roaster. I put in 22 pounds, and I usually get out between 18.6 and 18.8. If I'm doing a darker roast, of course, that's going to go down to 17 pounds and something. But my roasts aren't super dark, and so I seem to be a slower roaster rather than a faster one on the sample roaster. On the larger roaster, I would like to speed it up a little bit, but getting the coffee out and turned around in 14 minutes is about as fast as I can make it go. And so I get a little more consistent on the third, fourth, and fifth roast, more so than on the first few. But about a 15% loss is what I've been having here lately. And a lot of times that's changed around by how humid it is outside, things like that. But you never know. Oh, but just quickly, we are going to do another podcast on Tuesday night, but it's going to be super quick because I'll be stuck at an airport somewhere, hopefully. And
Hopefully, yeah.
because if I miss this flight, I'm going to be in trouble. I've got a lot of work to get done. So, and I'm not going to have my car at the airport. Somebody's going to drop me off at the airport. So I'll definitely want to make sure that I make that flight. I've got to start roasting first thing Wednesday morning. So it's a time crunch. But Eli and I, when we're traveling together, we've done quite a few videos and podcasts even when we're traveling. So we're going to try to do a podcast Tuesday night if it works. I
Except
don't think
for
you have
last
Taekwondo or
trip.
anything, do you?
What?
Not Tuesday night.
No. I was saying
We ought to be
except
good.
for last trip, we
Well,
barely did any
normally when
podcasts.
Eli and I are here, if anybody hops on and has a coffee question, we'll sure answer it. But where I said today's podcast was going to be coffee in Honduras. So I had a couple of things that I wanted to do this week and I didn't get around to doing. The contractor showed up, and my job was to bring workers in the day we had to mix. But when he showed up, he had one guy with him because he did a contract and he wanted to keep all the money in his pocket. So then I ended up having to come up and bring my guys to bring the post and all for him. So it was a lot slower. And then with just two guys, him and another guy setting the posts, uh, it took them a day and a half to set the post. Each post has to be set under the roof to support it. And then once we box that up and pour concrete in it, it's supporting. We use 52 bags of concrete, so that's 5,200 pounds. And I can't think of how much a meter of sand weighs, but we used about 8 or 9 meters of sand. And so it's quite heavy, to say the least. So once it cures out and dries, the rebar and the concrete will sort of hold themselves, and then we can take all those posts out. the birds are flying in for the afternoon, and there's a ton of them. We have a Japanese fruit tree, and I don't know that Eli's ever gotten to eat that fruit. Have you?
I have not.
And so it's ripe right now, and so there's a bunch of them down that are just absolutely loaded. Uh, and these birds are flying in and stealing the big. I mean, they're that big around. They're the size, a little bit
Wow.
smaller than they're about like a ping pong ball. And these birds are big enough they can come in and rip that fruit off, and they're flying up in these trees and sitting there and eating the fruit. So we're going to try to plant some. I've got 3 seeds I'm going to try to plant when I get back to the U.S. I'm pretty sure it's okay to bring seeds, uh, but we'll see. And I'm also going to try to bring some coffee beans with me to plant. Uh, so if I can get a hold of enough of them tomorrow, we might be selling some of those. But I wanted to go to the cigar factory, but it just didn't work out. Uh, so unless something crazy happens tomorrow, I'm not going to get to do that. But it all works out in the long run. I was going to go moto and today with a couple of hundred other guys. They have a once a year thing, and I backed out on that just so I could get some stuff done around the house, which I haven't got much of it done. I've got my church pew put together, so I'm going to try to paint it tonight. And it's actually going to go on the porch, Eli, right under your bedroom window, and it'll be facing out here. Because remember, we had all those people here for the that last
Oh
mission
yeah.
team that came. We had all those people here, and we were always dragging seats around. And that bench is like 10 foot wide. I think it'll fit right in this spot, and so then
Wow.
that'll put 5 people right there. So I'm going to
Yeah,
give that
for
a
sure.
try. But I got to first build an armrest for each side for a coffee cup, and then and from there I'll paint it tonight, and then hopefully have it up here. And so I'm hoping Eli can come in November. Uh, that would be Eli would be taking some fundraisings. If somebody wanted to mail a check in care of Eli's November mission trip, then because in November we're going to be for sure teaching some classes in self-defense for girls, and then we're going to have a kids fun day. uh, the school programs are starting up again next week, so next week Anna's going to do 2 after school programs to where they're bringing troubled kids, not troubled kids, but kids that are having trouble in school. The teacher's going to bring them. And Anna told me yesterday on the way home that I take her home every day when I'm here. That she always has loved working with little kids. So we're looking for a way to keep her on the payroll, so to speak, or keep her around the farm. So one of those ways would be to let her work at the nonprofit. And her child is also having trouble at school, so that would be awesome to be able to get her kid up here and have her teach that little school. That'd be pretty cool. And the farm might have to pay it for a while, but we're gonna see if we can get some fundraising for that. But yeah, when Eli comes with me on these mission teams, he is just invaluable. Uh, I mean, every time he was with the group, he was having a translator. Every time we went somewhere, he was having to translate some. You put 20 white people in a souvenir shop in Honduras with a handful of money, you're going to have to watch them because a lot of the items aren't priced just for that reason. And
It's
they're
true.
like, how much is this? And they just hold their money out, and the clerk will just like pull one of the bills out and say, okay. And the guy, tickled to death, but he just paid 200 lempiras for something that would have cost 50. Uh, so yeah, there's a lot of communication problems. And in restaurants, when we go to a restaurant, well, they had some Hondurans with them, so there was like 26 when we went to a restaurant. So there was a
That
whole
was
lot of
we
trouble
packed
ordering
every
food.
restaurant
So,
pretty
I had to
much.
have a lot of care. Sometimes it'd take half an hour just to order dinner, and that's not an exaggeration.
Yeah, it did take that
And I'm
long.
telling them, go ahead, you know what I want. Go ahead and get started on mine while you work with all these other people. And so, Daddy needs tacos. But
That was
yeah,
pretty fun though.
we're gonna try to see how we can get that worked out to where we can have some more regular trips. Well, Eli, what's happening on the Kansas front? I had a customer contact me and here today saying that Mr. Randy was saying he was trying to call Mama to order coffee today, and she wouldn't answer her phone. So we're gonna have to get on her about that.
Probably we were in church. She might have had her phone off. I'm not sure.
Could have
Uh,
been. Can you
but
either set a little bit closer to your phone
oh, sorry.
or just
Coming up,
yell?
we coming. I'm just kidding. Coming up, we have some fundraisers for some schools nearby, as well as we just have been doing some. You just talked at 2 different churches pretty recently.
Well, tell them a little bit like that. I'm going to grab my headset. Tell them just a little bit about the basics of what we do when we go to a church.
So pretty recently, we were just going to. We went to a church in Gossel, Kansas, and a church in Lindsborg, Kansas. And pretty much we were talking more about the coffee side as well as missions. So Ashley stood up there and he did all the talking. I'm just gonna be honest. I mean, you did do all the talking at those churches. And he's gone. Okay. Well, pretty much we usually have a PowerPoint. One time we didn't, but pretty much we just go off the PowerPoint and use those pictures to talk about what I don't know. So we just talk about those pictures. So we have like 3 different PowerPoints we try to go through,
Yeah.
unless
Hey,
there's too many questions.
I accidentally logged out. When I log back in, now the speaker's working fine now. So luckily, I couldn't hear you, but everybody else probably could.
Yeah, that same thing happened. You were pretty quiet before. Now you sound fine.
Loud and proud.
Anyway, so we'll usually just go off our 3 PowerPoints, which is a Bean's Life, and then we have what's the other 2?
Well, I have one
Mission.
that's called what's the library lady's name that used to run the library? Betty,
Uh,
Betsy, Betsy,
Betsy.
Miss Betsy. I have one.
Oh,
I have one that's called Betsy's Library because I had to speak at the library one day, and that's a real good general idea of the nonprofit, and it has pictures of the when we first started doing the building the church and stuff like that. But I have started working on a newer one that's got a lot more up to date pictures and stuff like that in it. So and it'll include stuff with Eli's roasting path. I'm going to teach him how to do some basic roasting. But yeah, once you can run the little roaster, you can run the big one. So I need to teach you the little one, and because it's the hardest one to learn. There's more switching and changing on it.
true. But at the same time, if you mess that up, you only burn like what 12 ounces, not 20
Yeah,
pounds.
yeah, yeah. It's definitely. But one of the crazy things is I think the big roaster costs 10 times more, but will roast 25 times more, something like that. So
That
yeah,
seems
for
like
a
a good
long
use of
time,
money.
do what?
That seems like a good use of money.
Well, but it is exponential. I mean, it roasts way more for the price. Um,
True.
but yeah, something like that. I just some general math there. But yeah, that's something I really need help with a lot of times because I could easily. I've got some stuff to do on the farm, and it'd be really helpful if I could stay till Tuesday, till Thursday. Because when you're buying the ticket, you never know, how long you're going to have to stay. But yeah, we definitely need to get invited to a few more churches, and we don't charge to come and speak at churches. But what we do is,
We
well,
usually we usually sell coffee if people will like it, but also we take donations.
yeah, and it is what is it, a 503c or what? It's a regular nonprofit, so we're able to, you're able to write off anything. So from now on, when we come, we'll have those tax papers with us, and so we'll just make you a receipt out for the coffee when you or whatever your
Mhm.
donation is. Uh, a lot of times, people just make a donation but won't get coffee. But the goal is we have to have money for these projects. And it's expensive, to do these things. Like when Eli and I came up in July, we came up just for that one group. We weren't doing work on the farm, stuff like that. We were just getting ready for that group. And we were just here to work with the group because that group was going to help the community. But we had to buy 2 plane tickets to come here and take off work for 2 weeks to come here. And so far, we have not taken that money and paid for these trips, any of the donated money. But in the long term, we will have to, it'll be something where we have to put in X amount of the budget. It's going to have to be to cover, let's say, 2 plane tickets a year or something like that. Because when we finish this apartment, we'll have the capability to, according to how many people are in the group that are boys, girls, married, and all that, we can put up to 8 single guys in this little classroom we're doing, and they'll have a bathroom right there, and then about 75 feet up the hill, there's another bathroom. Both of them will be bathroom showers, so 8 guys can easily share that. And then the library can sleep 6 guys easily, and then they have a shower. So, but it's according to what the mix is. If there's 4 boys, 4 girls, then we have to set them up differently. And the next project after, we're a couple thousand from finishing this classroom, but the next project will be to finish out a sort of a bunk house, and it'll house 18 people, and it'll have a wall that separates it with 2 giant doors that open up. But it'll have 18 beds in it, and they're all bunk bed style beds. So they'd be considered like a big single bed. They're pretty good size. But 18 people would be able to have that, and it would have 3 bathrooms for it. And there's a girl's side and a guy's side. The guy's side will have 9 beds. The girl's side will have 9 beds. The girls will get 2 bathrooms. The guys will just get 1. So they'll have to figure that portion out. And then there's another apartment that we already have. So it's ready for, up to same thing. We could put 8 people in that apartment, and the apartments have mini kitchens and bathrooms in them. So the whole goal is to be able to get to that point. And I'd love to have 4 mission trips a year. I'd love to be able to have a team here in March and April, something like that, and then have some come up in July. Those are pretty good months. Have them come the last week of June through the second week of July would work really good for Eli, because his birthday's on the 20th. He likes to keep that day free.
No, it's fine.
But no, this year he had his birthday here in Honduras, so maybe it wasn't too bad, but it wasn't ideal. But
it wasn't the first, and I very highly doubt it will be the last.
Yeah, you've definitely had a lot of birthdays here, I guess. Your 4th birthday was here. So, yeah, right when we got here.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's, we spent quite a few birthdays here. I've been, yeah, it's worked out pretty good. I've enjoyed my birthdays here. But the last birthday, you got a couple of little gifts, and then you got 2 cakes. So that wasn't too shoddy. And,
well, we had to share with everybody, so yeah.
Well, there was enough that Eli shared it with everybody in the group, and then took it around to everybody that worked in the restaurants that were around us. We were in like this little group of restaurants, and so Eli took pieces of cake we gave some to the people there eating at the next table.
Really? I didn't remember you did that.
Yeah, there was a couple sitting at the next table, and they were getting ready to go, and I asked them, and they took some pieces to go. They were tickled with it. But Eli gave a lot of them to the workers that were in the different restaurants. So it worked out. It worked out really well. I was really proud of you, and I appreciate you donating that special day in your life to coming up and helping. 'Cause I could not have done it without you, with the exception of one thing I could have done without, when you went to the park and didn't tell me about that. But
okay.
Mommy's not watching, is she?
She's in McPherson or something. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, good. Yeah, Eli
I'm
took one
pretty
of
sure
those.
she knows about that by now, but okay.
Yeah, I don't know, man. That scared me a little bit. And then I was like, no, he'll be okay. And then I said, well, when you said you were going to the park, I started walking that way, and there was like about 8 or 10 guys out in the dark road drinking, and I was like, then I started getting a little bit nervous, and
I was
so
fine.
I know you were fine, but you can't fight 8 guys.
It's true.
And so you could try, but that's I don't know, eight drunk guys, you probably might be all right, but I was pretty sure the guy that was with you wasn't going to be much help. So not to make fun of anybody, but you know, it's a lot of people would just run in that situation. But you sure don't want somebody running the wrong way and then we lose somebody. But
Yeah.
no, the goal is to not ever have anybody have a bad experience when you're doing mission stuff, because that's what'll get you the publicity is if something bad happens to somebody, um, versus that group that was here did a lot of good, and they've been here quite a bit. And I think this is his second or third time, but they've never had the opportunity to get out and go like they did when you were here, uh, because they're in Tegus, and so at night they get stuck in a bus, and they got a couple Hondurans with them, and they go, they may get to walk around the city mall or whatever it is, Cascadas Mall that we go to.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, they'll get to walk around inside that mall a little bit, but they have like 45 minutes, and you're with a group of so many people, and every group has a cell phone. And 45 minutes, and you set your alarm. In 45 minutes, you're right back here at the food court at this time. You know, there's not like the liberty they had here, because a lot of the times we didn't know if people were up on the top of the hill or down at the house or in the apartment. You know, they were safe. They were safe,
Yeah.
and they left a couple people at the little hotel. Those two girls that were so sick,
Hmm.
they left them, and then come to find out they felt good one morning, so they just got up and walked into Planis. They didn't have any
Okay.
trouble. And the one girl, Autumn, spoke a little bit of Spanish. But they felt safe, and I think it is a safe enough place. But there's also, different roads you wouldn't want to go on. There's little bars and stuff around Planis and around every town. So, but no, they had a great experience, and a lot of that's because you know, we were able to accommodate that, and we had enough people that spoke English that you guys could do some fun stuff. And except for the night, I think they stuck you in the very back of the car, and you sort of got car sick. I don't think anything bad happened.
No, it's fine. Fine.
Yeah, it's no fun. It made me mad because I mean it's like my car. I'm loaning you my car. Don't put my kid in the back. You know, Eli gets shotgun.
Very funny.
No, that's the way it should be. It's my car. But
It's fine.
next year you'll be the one driving.
Yeah. Lower
Oh
expectations.
yeah, because when they give you a driver's license, nobody here is going to be able to learn speak English, so they'll just look at it and there's your picture and okay.
Yeah, I'm not doing that.
Oh man, you could handle. We could drive straight to La Luna. You wouldn't have any trouble doing that.
Except for all the potholes and crazy drivers.
Well, we're going to drive slow.
Okay.
Hey, E, we're going to wrap it up. I said it was going to be a short
Yeah.
one. It's been we're at 38 minutes.
Yeah.
We covered everything on our list, and I hope you guys will share us. I know we're only on YouTube tonight, but give us a share, and let your friends know about us, because that's the only way we're going to grow and survive. But thanks, Eli, for coming on, and it's good to get to see your face for half an hour. And I
Yeah.
guess 11 o'clock. I think my flight comes in 11 o'clock in Wichita.
Perfect. I will
So
see you then.
yeah, love you, man. Thank you
Don't
guys
miss your
for
flight.
coming on. What, buddy?
Don't miss your flight.
No,
It's not
we're gonna
fun.
leave. We're gonna leave here at 8 o'clock, and he'll have me there by 8:40, which is 30
Perfect.
minutes slower than it should take, or 9:40. It takes me an hour and 10 minutes. Takes him an hour and 40.
Well, he's probably one of the safest drivers you're going to find in Honduras, though.
Definitely, because it's very few times I fall asleep when somebody else is driving, and when he was driving, I just fell right asleep.
Yeah. Well,
And I knew I was safe. If we had a wreck, I got that rope tied around my waist.
Huh?
Just kidding. His truck's pretty old.
Ah,
All right, I'm going to sign off. Love you, Eli. Thank you guys for watching the show. We'll talk to you again
don't
on
forget
Tuesday
to
night.
talk to you guys Tuesday night.
All right. Thanks, E. We'll see you later. Goodbye, everybody.